Hello, I am Bear, and welcome to the third part of our full RV shower remodel video series. We've put studs in the walls, and we've got our plumbing right where we want it. Now it's time to start putting up our pretty walls. Well, it's not going to be so pretty at first. Duroc, a cement-based board, isn't exactly eye-catching, but that's what's going up first. Now, if you're familiar with installing Duroc in a residential shower, you may be wondering how we finish off the end of the Duroc, especially since it won't be flush with the wallboard. The trick here is that we will be using a Schluter brand metal that provides a nice end cap to our tile. In this case, our Schluter metal end piece can accommodate 3/8 inch thick tile. Our PVC tile that we're working with here though is 3/16 inch thick. That's only half the depth of the Schluter metal. However, if we put the 1/4 inch Duroc onto the metal piece as well, this will provide a 7/16 inch thick finished wall that goes into the 3/8 inch thick metal. Wow, that's a mouthful. Okay, it's not exactly the same, but with some caulking or siliconing at the end, it's going to look fan-flippin-tastic. To know how much Duroc cement board we are cutting, let's first get an idea by putting up our metal Schluter pieces. I based where I put mine on how close to the door I could get with it, and then I just did the same thing on the other side of the shower to make it symmetrical. Of course, these metal pieces had to have their lengths cut to fit, which slowly cutting with a miter saw can accomplish. I like to have the factory finished edge of my Duroc run up against the metal. So since I'm using 3x5 sheets, I only need to cut the bottom to fit over the shower base. Now, if you haven't cut Duroc before, here's some tips on that. I don't ever use a pencil for marking because the material's so hard it's just going to eat up that lead like a victim in a gangster movie. I mark it with a Sharpie or a permanent marker usually. Often I wear gloves because this can be rough on your hands over time. You can cut your mark with a knife, bend it back, flip it over, and then cut it on the other side. But if you know me, I'm more of a power tool man. I like to use a sawzall with an old blade that's ready to be trash. You're going to be trashing whatever blade you use anyways, so you may as well use the one that's on its way out too. I'm sure that they also make a blade for cutting this kind of material with your sawzall, which you can use as well. So after you cut your ingeniously marked lines, you can now install it in your shower. The Duroc should sit just over the shower lip, and before this, make sure to have taped plastic over the rest of the shower base to protect it from the wall installation. Have your wall studs, including the nice fancy ones you put in part 1 of this video, pre-marked so that you know where to screw into. On the exterior wall side, I like to glue the Duroc on for extra support with liquid nails or some other construction glue. As you can see, I'm also going to install my Schluter metal at the same time with glue. I pre-marked a line on the wall so that I could stick the Schluter piece back in the same exact spot. I'm going to do the same with the rest of the space and cut the Duroc to fit in there. Then I'll glue and screw it all. Duroc uses special screws, so make sure to grab them at the store as well. And get screws that are less than 1.5 inches long so you don't screw too far into that wall and to the other side. Before continuing, go ahead and click that like button and subbity sub. Leave a comment below as well. Do you have any extra tips on installing Duroc? Let us know. Also stay tuned for the tips and tricks we have as regards installing Dumawall. Getting the last tile in your shower is actually really difficult, and I've noticed that other videos don't even go into that. So keep watching and you'll see how you can beat that tough cookie of a situation. We're going to do the same process on the interior wall, but we need to make sure to mark a hole for the shower control and for the shower head. A 1-inch wide hole is good enough for the shower head, and use the plaster guard from the shower control as your template for marking the circle that will have your shower control in it. After attaching all the cement board, we're going to run a special sticky gray mesh tape over the cement board seams. Also, run it down over the shower base lip. Using thinset, which is the mortar that is used for laying ceramic or porcelain tile, we'll run a coat over the mesh tape that we just installed. This will basically attach all our cement board pieces into one seamless piece and also run our wall nail down to cover our shower lip. Using the same thinset putty knife, after giving the thinset a good day to dry, we can knock off the high spots of the thinset. Next, if you like strawberry yogurt, I hope this won't be too much of a temptation for you. We're going to be applying Red Guard, which is actually a waterproofing membrane to our cement board. Don't get this stuff onto your Schluter metal trim, by the way, and keep that plastic on your shower base. It's very simple actually. Just get a disposable brush and roller and apply it onto your cement board. Give it some time to dry, and then come back and apply a second coat. Look at the instructions on the container to know how long it needs to dry. With this applied, even if the water gets behind your tile, it's never actually going to get past this stuff. It's literally waterproofing your wall. Just perfect for the shower and protecting the inside walls of your RV. Now, let's move on to what you really want to see. No one wants to see this gray stuff. No one wants to see this reddish stuff. Everyone just wants to see the tiley stuff.
It's so tiley, I could just die.
I want to install this tile in a staggered brick pattern. And so, when I get my measurements for how long the tile is, I'm able to measure and draw lines up the wall. As I follow these lines and match the ends of my tile with them, I'll keep a nice clean brick pattern look. FYI, you'll note that the sides of Dumawall tile is tongue and groove, which is great for preventing water from getting behind it. When installing Dumawall tile, just like any other tile, you want to focus on getting the first row just perfect. If you do that, then you won't have to think as hard or make as many adjustments as you move up the wall. So expect to spend some time on this. Since this is your finished wall, you want to make your cuts as accurate as possible. It's PVC, so cutting it is actually not too difficult. After you get your marks, you could cut it with a knife, or perhaps use a multi-purpose tool or jigsaw. But my eager YouTubians, do you want to know how the pros do it? Cut it with a miter or table saw. That is absolutely going to give you the fastest, best looking cuts. Now when measuring for your first row, hopefully you'll be able to use a level. It's almost a requirement here. You don't have grout lines, so you want to have these line up just right with each other due to the lack of space to move them. A lot of times, certain parts of your shower base are lower than other parts. That's just how it is when you put it on these uneven floors. You want to find the lowest point on the wall where your shower base touches and start there as the point where you have a full tile. I try to space up the tile evenly across the shower base about a 1/16 of an inch or maybe even up to an 1/8 inch. So that way I don't ever have the tile ever actually sitting on the shower base. Now if that tile needs to be level up top, but it's sitting on a shower base that is not 100% level, this means we need to shave the bottom of the tile at a slight angle in order for it to sit level. After I get my first tile just right, I'll do the same with the next tile and meticulously check how level they are with each other again and again. In other words, the first row takes forever and it really stinks. It also helps to draw a level line across the top of these tiles so that you can easily have the next tiles follow it. As I move onto the other wall of the shower, I'll start using my level across at a diagonal so that I know my tile is staying level with each other. At this point, the only thing holding it up is some tape on the wall, no glue. The tile will butt up in the corner together, one overlapping the other. Dumawall does actually make a corner trim piece that you can slide these into, but I think it looks better to not have it. When our first row is all laid out, it's time to glue it in before we move on. To glue it on the wall, we'll be using Loctite Power Grab, and we'll also be using Quick Seal Ultra Silicone on the tongue and groove sections as a way to provide extra waterproofing protection before sliding on the next tile. Run the Loctite Power Grab around the back edge of it, and then put a healthy amount around the middle of it as well. Squeeze it on the wall, and line it up with your level line that you created. Before adding the next tile, I'm going to run a modest bead of silicone on the tongue and groove side that it will be touching on the first tile. If any silicone squeezes out, just clean it up on the spot so you don't have to think about it again. I'm going to add a small tile to the bottom outside shower base to fill the gap. You really have to focus with this stuff so that when you're cutting the correct side of the tile so that the tongue and grooves line up correctly. As you add more, keep checking how level it is. Of course, when adding the next row up, you'll have to silicone the top of the lower row. From this point, if you laid out the bottom row perfectly level, you'll be able to start flying through adding tile. Of course, you'll get slowed down by going around the shower controls, but using a jigsaw or a multi-purpose tool to cut the hole out will get you through there. What's most important with the shower control is that you leave enough space in there for the 2 long-threaded machine screws to fit through that attach to the shower control cover. But we're going to cover more on that in the next video. The last tricky parts to adding this tile is at the top. You'll have to measure for the exact spot for where your shower head will come through. Drill a slightly larger hole that gives you a little room for error for where your shower head goes. At the top, you'll also have to cut your tiles to fit cleanly up to the ceiling. Due to the nature of having to slide in the Dumawall, the final tile can be a real bear. I mean, literally, you're trying to fit it in the side of one piece and on the top of another. To make this work, I actually had to pop the lower row's last tile out a hair, so I could even slide the final tile onto it. And then, once it was sitting on the tile, I was able to just slide it over onto this tile to the right side. After it was in place, slipped into both tiles, then I could push it back on the wall and leave it to dry itself to perfection. Hey everybody, I think it's time again to do your happy dance. It looks great when you get this far, but we aren't done yet. We need to finish off our shower with our Moen plumbing trim and beautifully designed Dreamline brand doors. We'll see how to do this in part 4 of this video series. I gotta say, after watching all this, you are looking way smarter. And hey, have you been working out? Click that link to go to part 4 and complete your training. And then help us out by clicking all those buttons we love. Subs, like, all that. Oh, except for the dislike button. That's the bad one. Last time my friend did that, he lost his arm. So don't do it. And lastly, support us on our RV-related Instagram called Vegan Runner Mommy. You're going to see some pretty cool RV fixer-uppers that we've done. You're awesome. Don't change, and we'll see you over there.